And joining us right now, the Roth North Phoenix Cast Line from NBC Sports Philadelphia, Eagles beat writer, one of the best in the business himself, Mr. Dave Zangaro. Dave, how are you, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Well, the audience knows I'm in the process of moving as we tape this. It's Monday. The movers are coming tomorrow, but I'll bitch and moan on Tuesday's show about that. So I hope when I bitched and moan about it, it was nice. Anyway,
are you at the age now where you're like, we got to get movers? I can't have my old friends over here. Like,
I passed that age 5 years ago. Like the pizza and beer thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, we have booked movers. I am an adult now. And they're coming to just haul all my crap away.
I had a buddy a few months ago who moved, and he like, him and his fiance are moving into his house, and we're all over there at a U-Haul, and I'm like, what are we doing here, man? Like, I can't throw my back out like this.
Did you get pizza and wings, anything out of it? A case of beer?
It was like, the typical, like, we'll order from the local pizza place, get a 30-pack of crappy beer, and that's your payment, but,
Yeah, that's we're past that age now, but we're past that age, unfortunately. Well, at least I can only speak for myself.
I feel like I'm past it. That was my last one for sure.
Dave, I gotta say this, man. I laughed out loud because I'm fighting the same battle that you're fighting. I saw this when you tweeted it out. Really, it's between saying Saturday and saying Sunday, whenever it is that the Eagles play, which is obviously Saturday, as we know. I'll be making the same mistake, and I appreciate you bringing that to the forefront.
Well, it's really tough too, like covering the team every day because they just like change, like their schedule is so like Tuesday's Wednesday, Wednesday's Thursday, Thursday's Friday. So it's not only am I gonna like screw up when the game is, but like during the week, I'll probably mention like, Nick Sirianni said at his Wednesday press conference, which will actually have been on Tuesday, because I just like I kind of dive into whatever their schedule is. Now becomes my schedule, and that makes it trickier.
Wow. And now I'm messing with you further by doing a Wednesday show on Monday.
I never know what day it is when it's a weird game day.
Right. Your schedule is always set by the Eagles media schedule release. Like, what is he speaking? Tuesday?
But then I have I have like real life requirements that I've scheduled. Like I do my podcast on certain days, and I have like TV on a certain day, and then it really screws me up. And I haven't missed anything yet, but there's always that chance that could happen.
Yeah, man. It's the beat writer life, man. You guys are programmed to just adapt. And you and Ruben Frank, Eagle Eye Podcast. Everyone should check that out, of course. Dave, you've covered special seasons. You've covered the 2017 Eagles went on to win the Super Bowl, of course. When you look at this year, though, was there a moment like that 2017 season, the 61-yarder by Jake Elliott that year, right? That was when you kind of knew something special was going on. Did you have a moment this year when you thought, oh, wait, the Eagles might be onto something?
That's interesting. I don't know if there was like a specific moment. At least that's another part of like being in it. It's like I haven't had a chance to like look back at it. I don't know if there's been a specific moment because they were so dominant from the beginning of this season, rattling off all those wins, but it felt similar. It felt like part of the 2017 season. And it sounds like a weird thing, but like celebrations and like that sort of thing, that felt very 2017-ish to me. Like with the whole Batman stuff, just kind of died down. No one's talked about Batman in a while, but like that whole chapter of this Eagles season to me felt the most like 2017, because you're like, okay, this is special because like you have to be a good team to do those sort of things. And it's not like about the on-field product even at that point, but it's like the on-field product allows you to have that much fun. And that's how much fun this season was. And Jalen Hurts, obviously throughout the year, just seeing like, that's the real moment where you watch him and you're like, okay. And I don't know if there was a specific like game where it clicked for me that he's a different player, but once you realize that he was, all of a sudden you're like, this roster is stacked. He was the one question mark. And that question got answered in the first few games. And once that question was answered and you knew he's a really good player, then right at that point you're going, okay, yeah, this team is legit and they have a chance to at least, make some noise and get into the playoffs, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's a statement of fact that Jalen Hurts has improved drastically from what you saw last year. I mean, MVP candidate is really all you need to know. And we went into the offseason, I've said it 1,000 times, is he the guy? We've all said it, we've all talked about it, But with Jalen Hurts, is there something specifically that jumps out to you from last year to this year that you have seen the biggest improvement in his quarterback play?
There's a few areas. I think his comfort in the offense is what stands out most because that's what's allowed him to do so many things successfully. And it's just like knowing, his knowledge of the offense and just understanding where the ball needs to go. Look, and it like that's where it really all hinges from. And there are mechanical things that he's doing better, but I think if you don't have that, none of the other stuff really matters. So the one biggest flaw I saw in his game, there were a few, but one of them was he didn't throw with anticipation. It was like, we'll throw an open spot, and that's fine. Like you can do that, but seeing him throw guys open this year, seeing him trust AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, and it helps when you have guys that you can trust like that. Seeing him make some of those throws, like that's next level stuff. That's where you put yourself in an MVP conversation because you're attempting those throws. You have the confidence to make them, but you actually have the physical ability to do it. And I think a lot of people were like concerned that he didn't have a strong arm, and that's been fine. Like arm strength was never a problem. It was the understanding of when the ball needs to be out, where it needs to be, when it needs to be there. And once he's cleaned that up, like, yeah, the arm's fine. He doesn't have like it's not a crazy arm. It's not like one of the best in the league, but it's a very good arm. And he's great at throwing a go route. And he's thrown in the middle of the field, that intermediate stuff that I think he lacked a little bit last year. All that's been there. And he can make every throw, and he's done it all year. And gosh, he's been so much better. It's funny. You're right, though. We came into last season with the same question. And this year it was like, that's what we need to figure out. Is he the guy long term? And he answered it so quick that like we forget that was even a question at the beginning of this year.
Yeah. It was like, he's got this. It was like, oh my God, he's got this. All that quick. Yeah, all that hard work, all the not that he was going crazy with Instagram posts. Like it wasn't like a Ben Simmons status type deal, but he was putting in the work in the offseason. Guys were talking about it in the offseason. And then with the first couple of games, you're right. It was like, oh wow. What? Already seeing the fruits of his labor. For me, it was watching the slant routes. And I think what you were saying as far as anticipating and making that delivery, that all went into it. And he was just a far more accurate quarterback. And let's face it, he also has a better weapon around him than AJ Brown. That doesn't hurt, of course.
Yeah, that AJ Brown slant is like the ultimate cheat code. It's always there. You can always run it. He's just such a big body. And Jalen's done a good job too. Like credit him. He puts it on him. Like it's where it needs to be. And those are big plays for this offense.
Before we move along to health status, because I know the week has progressed since you and I just talked or last talked, but when it comes to Jonathan Gannon, I'm trying to figure out something here, and I'm not a Jonathan Gannon hater. I thought last year he could have been more aggressive. This year he's got the pieces and he's got a top offense or defense again and all that. I'm trying to figure out what makes this guy such a hot commodity as a head coaching candidate, because the defensive number has been great. This year in particular have taken a huge jump, but they get an upgrade of talent. Thank you, Howie Roseman. Vic Fangio supposedly has his hands on this somehow as well. So I need to ask the question made famous by the, as far as I'm concerned, Academy Award-winning picture Office Space. What is it you say you do here? Like what? How much does Jonathan Gannon have on this? How much is help that he has gotten from the front office and defensive consultants, if you will, when talking about Fangio?
Sure. And look, his defense comes from the Fangio tree. I mean, his fingerprints are on it, even if he wasn't around. It's like this defense has all those elements. But Gannon's made it his own a little bit. And I think the reason he's a hot coaching commodity isn't because of the scheme. I think like there's a lot of validity to the scheme, and there's a lot of reasons he does what he does, even though it frustrates the hell out of a lot of Eagles fans. Like there are reasons he does what he does and why he does it. And for the most part, it accomplishes the goals that he has in mind. And it's like not giving up big plays. There's no question he has a ton of talent. I mean, there's an influx of talent, and that's helped him out quite a bit. It's such a luxury to have that pass rush paired with the corners they have. I mean, those two things work hand in hand, and they're so good at both of those spots. But I don't think the scheme is the reason he's getting all this attention. He has, for a lack of a better term, he kind of does have that it factor. you're looking for. Like, he has the ability to stand in front of a room and captivate it. And knowing him as well as I do, I'm pretty sure he's nailing every interview he gets. Whereas some other coaches might end up being great coaches, but you wonder if the interview process is going to hurt them.
Mm-hmm.
I think Shane Steichen's obviously a very hot coaching candidate right now. But if you had to say, all right, you're sitting down with these two guys, which of these two candidates is going to wow you more in an interview? It's probably Gannon. And that doesn't mean he'll be a better head coach, but I think he has that characteristic. He's kind of a natural leader in that way. And I think that's what has made him so attractive.
I got it. I tell you, I understand what you're saying, and I think you're right. Every time I'm hearing about the interview well idea, I remember when Chip Kelly was here and he brought in Billy Davis, and every Eagles fan went right to Football Reference, and we saw all how low and how terrible his defenses were when he was elsewhere. And I remember asking Chip, like, other than his why did you hire this guy? Basically, is the nicest way I could put it. And he goes, well, meet him. You got to meet him. And I sat down across from him and I went, this guy's like a football genius. Like, wow, he's talking about the guys he worked with in the past and all that stuff. Capers was one of them. A bunch of other names were out there. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And then he didn't even top Juan Castillo's numbers. Now, true, Chip Kelly's offense didn't really lend itself to helping out the defense at all, but especially with time of possession. But it's like those guys just know how to command a room, know how to talk football. It's a matter of getting the best out of those players, which I think Gannon has done, especially with the group that he has this year.
Yeah. And look, I understand the qualms with Gannon. I'm not like, it's funny. It's like there's no nuance when we talk Jonathan Gannon. Like, people either hate him or they love him. They're trying to get him fired, or they're trying to like make him next coming. And look, I think he's done all right. I think there are times like in game he's too slow to adjust, and at times his scheme frustrates me a little bit. Like, watching it, I don't think it's aggressive as it could be, but the results are the results, and it's been pretty good.
Right. I think that's why I think last year, if you want to talk about being more aggressive, I think that would have lent itself to being more aggressive. This year, players are winning their one-on-one battles. There's not much of a reason. I give him credit for that. He definitely has upgrades in his positions. That's for sure.
Yeah. There were moments last year, real quick, that it was really frustrating because you were watching them like get death by 1,000 paper cuts in all those games. I think this is where the perception stems from, is all those games against good quarterbacks where they were like, yeah, you want to play too high and you want to give us the underneath, we'll take it. And that's what good quarterbacks did. And he just never tried anything else. And that was really frustrating because it's like, you're already losing. Like, it's not working. Try something else. He was really hesitant to do that. This year, they have tried other stuff. And I think it's just a product of having better talent. He feels a little more able to change things up, and they disguise coverage as well because he has so many talented players.
Mm-hmm. Let's jump to health real quick. Talk about Lane Johnson a little bit. Talk about Jalen Hurts. Let's just say this for Jalen Hurts. Let's say going into the Chicago game, let's just say he was 100% healthy. When he stepped back on the football field against this Giants team to wrap up the season, to wrap up the number 1 seed, where do you think he was health-wise by percentage?
Oh, it's tricky. I mean, they were acting like he was 50%. But I don't
in terms of play calling and game plan? In terms of game plan and play calling?
Game plan. Yeah. Like, I think he was beyond that. I don't think they'd put him out there if he was that low. But it's really tough to tell because that game plan covered up so much of how we would have found out if he was healthy. Now, the fact that they did it tells you he clearly wasn't 100%. But I think some of that was precautionary too, because the whole game plan was vanilla. Like, let's just take care of business, get the first round bye, and then get him back on the field. But it's tricky. And the thing that has stuck with me is just the way that they've started talking about this injury. You know, Nick Sirianni comes out after the game and says, oh, he was in a lot of pain. Jalen's saying things like, he's kind of admitted that he's not going to be 100%, that he's going to have to play through some of this. He's played with injuries before, he said. So that stuff's a little concerning because when you're in the playoffs, like, you can't have a game plan like we saw in week 18. I'm not saying you got to run him every play, but his legs are such an important part of this offense that you have to have it in there. You have to have at least like zone read stuff in there because he changes the numbers in your favor. Like Miles Sanders had this great year, and a lot of it is because teams have to worry about Jalen Hurts taking it and pulling. So the game plan has to be different, even if he's not 100%. You're in the playoffs now. It's like you just got to do it and hope that he can survive it. The nice thing is I didn't think his throwing seemed to struggle in week 18. That's like the one area where we could see. And it makes sense that during the bye week, they were kind of taking it easy. No reason to put him through a ton of reps in practice if you don't need them. But that was encouraging. Like it didn't look like it was hampering his ability to throw the ball, especially in the pocket. Now, maybe if he starts running around, like then you're not planting your feet and then it's all arm. Maybe that's a little harder. But the tricky thing about him, and I know we're going to get the lane, is that we might have a little bit of a sense during the week of practice, but I don't think we're really going to know until they get out there on Saturday. And I said Saturday, and I'm happy for myself.
There we go. One for one so far in this interview, at least 1 for 1. You're doing great. Now, okay, Lane Johnson's the other. He did talk in his locker last week. He said, everything's that's the buzzword now, tracking. Everything's tracking in the right direction. So he said, yeah, we're going to go out there. I've dealt with things in the past, and I'm going to deal with it the best I can. I mean, he's going to be playing on Saturday, right?
Yeah. Oh, he'll play.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to last and how effective he's going to be. And I don't think anyone really knows that. And Thursday this week, well, I guess Wednesday of this week, he'll really go through the heavy practice and he'll try to take on a bull rush and see how it holds up. So that'll be a telling day for him. But he's another one where it's like, we'll just have to see how it holds up against the Giants. And it's a tough injury to play with. We've talked to some people who have tried to play through it. It's a groin injury for an offensive lineman who needs that core strength. So that's a legitimate concern. And in a way, it's kind of nice that the Giants won because it's a better outcome than possibly. In my head, I was thinking, like, are the Cowboys going to end up here? And you're going to deal with DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons. Now, Kayvon Thibodeau is a good rookie, and if Azeez Ojulari plays, he's a pretty good rusher. But you feel better with laying against those guys than some Pro Bowl premier guys. But it's tricky, and you're just hoping he can hold out because he means so much to this team. And having tackles like him and Mailata, and as a part of the offense we don't talk about enough, they don't help him. They never help him. Those guys are just out there on an island. And it gives them positive numbers everywhere else on that side of the ball. So if Driscoll has to be out there, they don't want to help him. They want to keep those positive numbers. The problem is Driscoll's not as good as Lane Johnson, and he's going to get beat at times. And then you start thinking, all right, well, now you have a weaker player at right tackle. You have a quarterback who's dealing with an injury that is a painful one. You're worried about him getting hit. That's where you start to say, okay, that's probably not an ideal situation.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned the Giants there a second ago, talking about this is the best scenario for the Eagles. I did not want to face the Giants for the fact that they were finally healthy, playing well coached. Their JV team actually put up a fight in the game. Yes, the Eagles were playing very vanilla, but I thought this Eagles team would always obviously get up to play Tom Brady. They'd get up to play the Dallas Cowboys, of course. There's just something about this Giants team that's playing right, healthy at the right time. I didn't want to face them. So they have my respect. I still think the Eagles beat them, but where do the Giants then rank in for you? Do they have your attention? Do you think this will be an easy win coming up on Saturday? Or how do you really see this week playing out for the Eagles?
I don't know if there are easy wins right now in these playoffs. It's been
fair enough,
pretty tough sledding, even for these high seeds. But Eagles should win. They're a better team. And I don't buy all the, it's hard to beat a team 3 times. I mean, if you're better than them, you should beat them every time you play.
Every time, yes.
That's not the way it works. Right. You have to go out and play the games. But you're right about the Giants on some level. They are healthier, much healthier now. That week 14, the week 18 game, I almost I don't even want to talk about it. It's almost pointless to me to talk about it. But the week 14 game, there are some things that you can look at. And the Giants are healthier now. They have Dory Jackson back, their best corner. Xavier McKinney's back. He didn't play in that game. Leonard Williams, I think, is still a little banged up, but he's playing at least. So they're a healthier team. The receiver situation looks better. Like those guys are playing pretty well. So this is and Daniel Jones is like good. He's a good player right now, and he can do it through the air. He can do it on the ground. So this is a better team. But when I ranked them, the 4 possible options, I had the Seahawks were the best case scenario.
Okay.
Because not only like they would have taken out the 49ers in that case, which would have been
helpful,
right. But then the Giants to me were the second best scenario. And I get that they're a spunky team and they've played well, but they also played a really fraudulent Vikings team, and the Eagles have a much better defense than the Vikings. I mean, the Vikings defense was awful.
Mm-hmm.
The Eagles, at least talent-wise, are much better. So I still think the Eagles match up well against the Giants. I expect them to win.
Fair enough. Dave Zangaro, Nakobe Dean was a guest of our show yesterday. You said you didn't get a chance to see Jalen Hurts really throw much. We got one, at least athletic move by Jalen Hurts. Just tell me how the shoulder looks. I thought the shoulder looked healthy there. Oh, wait, was that? Wait a minute. Was that? No, that was you dunking. Wait a minute.
We get confused. People confuse us all the time, man. Me and Jalen.
You knew to expect it. God bless you. You're such a great sport.
I knew it was coming.
Yeah. Dave Zangaro, great catching up with you as always. Make sure you guys follow Dave Zangaro on all social media. Check out Eagle Eye Podcast with Dave and Ruben Frank, another friend of the show, of course, from NBC Sports Philadelphia. Dave, here's to a nice long playoff run that ends in Arizona. Sunny Arizona for you, my friend.
I'll take it.
There you go. Dave Zangaro joining us from NBC Sports Philadelphia.